Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? Jared Fuller here. What's today's date?
20.
The 21st?
Let me see. Yep.
Today is Sunday. Thank you, Dad. Today is Sunday, October 21st, 2018. And yes, this week, off camera, I have Amy and my dad.
Hello.
We were talking about this, last week, Amy? How we really got to get Dad more involved in the Sunday video updates.
Yeah, he's actually here today.
He's actually here this week. So
So
far, yeah, because he's going to be leaving, or maybe, we don't know yet. He might be leaving shortly to help a friend move. So, as many of you have, if you've been paying attention to my YouTube channel, you have heard the news, or if you're following me on Twitter, you heard the news about the passing of Buddy Boy. He passed away on Friday. It was early Friday morning at 12:37, a day after his dad's birthday. So he did make it for his dad's birthday. But the grief has been so intractable because, you know, he was only a 9-year-old kid, and anytime a child passes away, it's one of the most difficult things to deal with. Personally, I don't know what the parents are going through, but overall, you know, dealing with loss is very, very difficult. And his funeral, there will be a funeral for him this coming Wednesday in Flint at Swartz Funeral Home. That's on Hill Road in Flint. I'll be there. It will be the first funeral I attend of a child. So this is going to be one of those extremely difficult moments for me. Now, many of you may remember when Bryson Ricker had passed away, and Bryson also had DIPG, and they live in Cedar Springs, Michigan, which is in Kent County on the west side of the state. I attended Bryson's funeral, and that was in Rockford, at the church there in Rockford, and that was difficult. Bryson, I think, was a teenager, if memory serves me correctly, because I have a very short memory on some things, but Bryson was also a young kid, but that was one of the most painful experiences ever, and this, with Buddy Boy's funeral, is going to be even more excruciating, because, you know, I actually went to his house, and anytime I would go to his house, you know, he would always be smiles, and he would be, you know, I could get him to laugh. We would joke about a lot of things. I could get him to smile, and he had one of the most vibrant, beautiful, amazing smiles you could ever imagine. And it's a smile that will stay in my heart and in my mind for the rest of my life. He had one of those contagious, beautiful smiles. And it's going to be difficult on Wednesday. I can predict that. But I consider the Miller family my family, and I'm going to be there for them. Dad, I don't know if you were going to go, if you had plans on Wednesday.
I'm going to try to, Sean.
But if not, that's fine. I'll go by myself if you can't make it. But it's the week was good up until I learned the news of Buddy's passing, which, and not to sound insensitive, but for those of you who are not aware of what diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma is, it's DIPG for short. It is an inoperable brain tumor. There is no cure for it. So, and I'm trying to say this with the best of knowledge to the people who are watching this and may not understand. A diagnosis of DIPG means that death is going to be inevitable. There is no cure for this, and there have been no survivors of DIPG. So at this moment in time, until we actually progress towards finding a cure, which I hope in my lifetime we find that and we save the lives of many more innocent children, which I wish no kid had to deal with that. But I hope I live long enough to find out, or at least discover, that there is a cure for DIPG. As we understand it right now, there is no cure, and early death is inevitable. And I'm not trying to sound insensitive because, you know, the family may be watching, and I'm not trying to sound insensitive in any way. I'm just trying to inform my viewers that DIPG is the deadliest and the most severely underfunded. I mean, DIPG gets nothing % of government funding, which is very, to me, reprehensible. And Survivor Guild, as you can imagine, is really taken over. You know, I was at New Lothrop Elementary School yesterday. They had a like different vendors were, you know, sat up in the gymnasium at New Lothrop Elementary, and I was going around talking to different people and sharing my story, telling them how I, you know, learned about Buddy and how I became very attached to his family. And I tried to explain Survivor Guilt. Now, some of the people didn't really understand. They didn't really follow me, and some of them did. And to the ones that didn't really follow me, I had to explain that, you know, Survivor Guilt is not just a crutch, or it's not just a play on words. It's not a tagline. When you survive something that someone else did not survive, that's devastating to the person who survived. I mean, I don't know of any other way to explain it. Now, I'm sure my dad feels Survivor Guilt at some point, because I survived and many other children have not. So I'm sure he has Survivor Guilt. I'm sure my mother has Survivor Guilt. Excuse me. But it's not just something that we casually toss out, like, you know, well, I'm just going to play on this today. I'm going to milk this for what it's worth. That's not what it is at all. It's an actual mental state. And when I tried to explain this to some people yesterday, they didn't really follow. And I kind of expected that, considering that they weren't directly impacted by cancer or any debilitating disease. But to those who did follow me, they understood. As a matter of fact, with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there was a vendor there. She was selling cosmetics, and she says, you know, I went in for an MRI on my breast, and all I had was some tenderness, but I also had some survivor guilt because a very good friend of mine had died from breast cancer. So I kind of know how you feel. Well, there's no kind of about it. You just described survivor guilt. You are surviving something that one of your very good friends succumbed to. And it's no different with children and myself, provided that I was a child when I battled Wilms tumor. So that's why my efforts are more geared and directed at pediatric cancer and raising awareness for pediatric cancer, and especially DIPG, because DIPG gets 0% funding. And overall, generally, I think I've heard between 3.8% and 4% of government funding. That's nothing. Adult cancers get 96% government funding. I've done the research. So I don't understand how, in a democracy, and mind you, I'm not political by all means, but in a democracy where we supposedly put children first, how can we allow for the research and study of pediatric cancer to be so horribly underfunded? Why do we give children the shaft on living? You know, and that to me is, it's so obvious. You know, and it's a bit of a mind trick. You know, it's like we live in a democracy where children come first, but yet they're getting the least bit of potential when it comes to living a prolonged life after. Because with DIPG, there inevitably, like I said, there will be an end, an early end. And it's not to sound like a Debbie Downer, but it is to inform the viewer who may not otherwise understand, or they may not be educated on this. Diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma is an inoperable brain tumor where the cancer cells themselves cannot be separated from the cells of the brainstem. They cannot be separated. Chemo can shrink the cells, but it does not separate them. And they become intertwined and they mix in, and eventually it affects the child's ability to breathe or talk or even look straight or to swallow food, because all of that comes from the brain, of course, so we don't know how to separate the cells, and it's very, very devastating, very devastating. So that's a little bit on DIPG. If you would like to educate yourself a little further on DIPG, I would suggest you do so. Do a simple Google search and just type in the letters DIPG, and long term it's diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. It claims so many lives of children, and to me, I'm just having a bit of a difficult time processing what's going on with the Miller family. I knew inevitably, like I said, it was going to happen, but it doesn't hurt any less. It doesn't make the pain less painful. It doesn't make it easy to manage. At the top of the video, as I said, it's an intractable grief that it's undeniable and it's unfathomable. And maybe I'm wrong for speaking out of turn because I've never lost a child, so I don't know what the parents are thinking and feeling. But I do know that I love Brad and Jenny immensely. They are just the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, and I'm humbled that they allowed me to step foot in their house and to get to know Buddy a little better. And I made him laugh. Like I said, a few times I'd make him laugh, I'd make him smile. He was always happy to take a picture with me. Always happy to take pictures. I went to his birthday party there in New Lothrop at the, I think it was the VFW hall there. And, he had the time of his life. He was happy. He was running around playing with his friends. He was laughs. He was smiles. He was just a happy-go-lucky little 9-year-old boy. And I was happy to have been there for Buddy. In fact, the same day of his birthday party, I was at the ABC 12 Family Expo. We were experiencing an ice storm, so I had driven from Birch Run to New Lothrop on a skating rink, so to speak, because it was very, very slippery and icy, and it was not the best day for driving. It was extremely dangerous driving conditions, hazardous conditions, but Buddy was worth it. And I would have driven through a hurricane to see him. And I'm taking it okay now. But a part of me knows that come Wednesday, the day of his funeral, when we say our final goodbyes, that's when I'm going to have a very rough time. But I have to be strong. If cancer taught me one thing, I just got to be strong. Can you shut my bedroom door, Dad? Because I keep hearing my phone dinging. It's my Twitter notifications. But I just have to be strong. That's all I know how to do, is to be strong. But anyway, those were my thoughts on that. And for those of you who are following me on Twitter, I just wanted to say thank you so much for just for being there with me and for being there for me and for showing your support. But more importantly, be there for the people who have suffered a loss, which would be the Miller family. Be there for them. Show them love and support, because it's not about me, it's about them. And I was just, I was a proponent to the charities that were beneficial to the Miller family. I would have the donation jars, and I've attended lots of events for Buddy. And we had the pumpkin roll last year. We went on a poker run just recently. And that was the last time I think
On Sunday,
that was on a Sunday. Was that last week?
Yep.
Or the week before? I think it was
Last week.
It was a couple weeks ago.
Or a couple weeks.
But all in all, I mean, for the most part, I mean, I'm doing okay. Depression is not nice. It's never nice. It wouldn't be called depression if it was nice. But I have a good support system here as well, and I have good friends on Twitter, and I have friends from local friends and family, and I have people who are here that I can talk to, and I've got family up north. They live up in Gladwin area, and I've been going up there. I've been up there a couple times this month, which reminds me they're going to be going trick-or-treating in Midland, and the kids want me to go with them.
Oh, cool.
In Midland.
Cool.
Anthony wants me to go, and all the kids do.
That's fine. That'd be cool.
Because I asked him, I said, well, where are you guys going trick-or-treat? Because they live in, like, the middle of nowhere, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah.
So they have to drive to Midland, which takes about 25 minutes, I'd say. Maybe a little less, give or take. And I asked them, I said, well, where are you going trick-or-treating? And they said, well, we're probably going to Midland trick-or-treating. And we want you to go with us. Okay, I'll go. If there's room. I mean, 5 kids plus 2 adults plus me. I mean, that's a lot of cargo space.
I would appreciate it.
Yeah, and, because especially with Ethan and Alexis, the 2 littler ones, they would probably want someone to walk with them while they're driving down the streets of Midland.
Yeah.
Because Midland is it's a big enough city. Things do happen, but that's everywhere, I guess. Things happen all over. Yeah, I'm drinking Pepsi today. Yesterday, and this is going to upset Dad, yesterday was the Michigan State football game. Wolverines beat Spartans 21-7. Amy is a Wolverines fan. Dad and I don't watch football. I really don't care who wins.
They need to get another quarterback.
A different quarterback.
That was really knocking them out.
East Lansing lost on their own field. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay because Ann Arbor also lost on their own field at Michigan Stadium. So,
Who knows? State may come back next year.
But you know what that tells me? That those are 2 very good teams.
Yeah.
If they can lose on their own field, even if they do lose on their own field, so what? They're good teams. I'm not a football fanatic.
I like both teams.
I like Wolverines and Spartans, but I'm not a football fanatic by any stretch. I could be sitting at my brother Wayne's house because my brother Wayne is a sports nut. He lives in Saginaw. We could be watching football, and I would be asking him, well, shouldn't he be penalized for traveling? Well, traveling is not in football. What are you talking about? That's basketball.
Oh, okay. Show you how much you listen to
So if you like people who play baseball, well, isn't he on the 9th green? No, that's golf.
Okay.
See, I'm not a sports fanatic. Although I do watch WWE wrestling. I haven't watched it as much lately because, no offense, WWE, but you are predictable.
Everybody knows what's going to happen.
When I was growing up, we had Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, Undertaker, Honky Tonk Man. Those are the wrestlers that I remember growing up. Junkyard Dog, Avalanche, and Butterbean, and Earthquake. you know, the sumo guys like Yokozuna, and wrestling has just changed so much. I remember when Hulk Hogan turned heel with the NWO, and WCW was you know, big in the 90s. There was that war between WWE or WWF at the time and WCW. They had the Monday Night Wars, but WCW Monday Nitro would come to Saginaw. And I always wanted to go to Nitro. We never had the money. We never had the money to get the tickets to go to Nitro, but I did go to WCW Thunder when they came to Saginaw. We were on the TBS channel, the Superstation TBS. Remember that, Dad? And Sid Vicious was out there, or Psycho Sid, or whatever they called him. But I think it was Sid Vicious was his ring name.
Yep.
He kept coming out there. Diamond Dallas Page was there. So I used to really be into wrestling, especially when the NWO was hot and heavy. I mean, they had changed the scope of professional wrestling. But a lot of them are dead now. A lot of them have passed away, and a lot of them are retired because there are no spring chickens anymore. A lot of them are just enjoying retirement. And
Like the Ultimate Warrior.
yep, the Ultimate Warrior passed away. Of course, he's been gone.
Right after his...
Roddy Piper and
Some of them have moved on to movies.
Macho Man Randy Savage was one of my favorites. Razor Ramon, also known as Scott Hall. I remember Razor when he was Razor
Everybody
Ramon.
has a favorite on them.
Everybody's got their favorite wrestler. But with Hulk Hogan, I mean, he was like the pinnacle of professional wrestling. He told the kids to say the prayers, eat their vitamins, and, you know, the Hulkamaniacs, you know. He was the red and yellow. And when at the Pontiac Silverdome back in 1987, when Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant,
There.
Dad was there.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that it felt like the whole building shook when he picked him up and slammed him. So
Awesome.
that was, and I was a baby, so I wouldn't have remembered that. But
That was cool.
things like that, moments in history, you know, you don't forget. It was like, where were you when Kennedy was assassinated, kind of a thing. But that's more of a tragedy than a memorable moment, you know, something that's worth remembering. But I guess Kennedy's assassination would be worth remembering because he was also a popular figure to the world. So, but I'm comparing apples and oranges. And I also want to take this time to remind all of you to visit GuideStar.org. GuideStar.org has a complete listing of 501c3 nonprofit organizations and LLCs. Don't be fooled, don't be duped. Visit GuideStar.org today. And speaking of GuideStar, you know, I have never shared the link on Twitter to GuideStar. Maybe perhaps I should. GuideStar, basically, it's tied in with the United States government, and they give a complete listing of 501c3 nonprofit organizations, as I just stated. And the reason you know, as an advocate of pediatric cancer, the reason I reference GuideStar is because of the frauds. There's far too many frauds out there who are manipulating people, and they have this fine art of duplicity that they like to master with people. They like to win people over. There are far too many, and I'm trying to help mitigate the problem. Which I guess is why I have haters, but I'm not going to give them too much credit, because if you never say anything that's worth saying at all, then you haven't said anything. And I say that all the time. I think it's a bit of advice that I like to go by. I just have to keep reminding myself, telling myself that there are going to be people who don't like me for whatever the reason may be, and that's fine. I can live with that. Chances are I probably don't like them either, but we do coexist. And if me sharing, you know, GuideStar.org or any other website that helps people to be educated and informed on what's going on, and who's legitimate, who's not legitimate, then I'm doing my part as an advocate to get the word out. People don't like me, Dad. Dad,
Huh?
people don't like me.
Oh well.
See? Oh well.
Problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. And of course, if you're following me on Twitter, I'm friends. I follow a lot of young actors, talented people, and they're they're marvelous people. I have so much love and support from my Twitter following. They're wonderful people. I really enjoy their friendship and their company, and I enjoy socializing. And there are some friends that I had when I was on Twitter who found me on Facebook rather. They found me on Twitter, and we follow one another. We pick up where we left off, which is nice. It's nice. I enjoy it. But the thing about my haters too is that they think I'm going to go down this primrose path to insouciance, and it's just not going to happen. I have to keep telling myself that I am much bigger and better than their hate, and that's something that everyone, I think, could live by. You have to remind yourself and tell yourself, and this goes for the two other people sitting to my left here, that
Yeah.
there's people out there who don't like you either, but you know what? You got to be bigger and tower over that.
I don't care if they like me or not.
See, and that's just my dad's attitude.
I don't have to live with them.
maybe I care a little more. I see things differently. I care more about people, even though they don't like me, but we have to live cooperatively together in the world. We share space and time together. We experience and observe everything together in the same life, in the same world. So I try to treat everyone with the same amount of respect and dignity as I would like in return, although I don't always get that.
I do too, but
It just doesn't pay sometimes. There are people that you cannot reason with. I mean, I've had people block me on Twitter just for congratulating them or complimenting them on something. I don't take it personally. It's not me, it's them. And it's taken me a long time to get used to that. Rejection is a difficult thing to take. But luckily, I find out what my strengths are. I find out where my strengths and my weaknesses are. And it's like, okay, if I have a weakness here, I work on that to try to find the betterment, to try to work on that to make it better, where the weakness becomes a strength. So that's always nice. That's always nice. So my brother Jay's supposed to be here. He's got Dad's van.
yeah.
So I don't know when he's supposed to be here. He's
Till later.
Oh, not till later. Okay, so that gives me plenty of time to sit here and gab a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part we're all doing okay. I think we're feeling some kind of a depression going on. It's a lot of it I know has to do with me anyway. Personally, I can't speak for these two, but for me, it's Buddy passing away.
That's what it
It's
is.
all the death going on. Everybody's leaving us again.
Yeah.
You know, and that was something I kind of,
For me, it's just an everyday.
yeah. There was something that a bit of philosophy that I've even had, I've discussed this with my dad, about death and dying and living and life. Now, when I was 16 years old, and a lot of you probably already know the story, so you can probably just fast forward through this if you like. But when I was 16 years old, I had this very, very imminent fear of death and dying. Like, I did not want to die young. And the reason for that was because I was sick so young. You know, when I was 2 years old, I was battling cancer, of course. So when I was 16, I came to this, like, oh my God, what if something should happen to me tomorrow? Now, we fast forward 16 years, And my fear of death and dying has completely gone away. And it feels nice. I mean, I don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. But we have to, eventually. But it's like Dad and I, we were having this discussion the other day, and I've said this numerous times or in any number of ways on Twitter. I don't fear death and dying as much as I fear life and living. I'm not suicidal, and it's not an innuendo to suicide or anything like that. But personally for me, I don't fear it anymore, because living life without the people you love, the people who enriched your life, the people who made your life better, the people who could make you laugh, the people who could make you smile, they were worth living. You could have the worst day and they would lift you right up out of those bad down moods and bad spirits. Living life without people who made your life better is a punishment. I don't fear leaving the world. I fear living. I fear the fact that I have to not only live my life without people who enriched my life, and it's not selfishness in any way, it's just I don't fear death, because while you're living, you have to live life of pain, of agony, of anguish, any synonym that best fits such a negative description. You have to live that. You can feel that every day. Depression is one of them, and I am depressed a lot. That's why I take medicine for it. But I don't fear leaving this. I don't fear finding out what real peace is. I don't fear knowing what real peace is. That's basically what it boils down to. And having peace on earth, I used to think maybe that was a possibility, that maybe human beings would come around and start using both sides of the brains. It's never going to happen. I don't see that happening. And I hope I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being naive. And I hope, there are a lot of people who just, they're very hateful people. But I always hope that, I used to think that people had it within themselves that they could make better choices for their lives, and they would care more about each other. And that it wouldn't just take for a catastrophe to get people to care for one another. But it's not the case. And it's only gotten worse. He's out there barking about something. But it's only gotten worse. So that's why I say, you know what? I give up on the fear. What's wrong?
He's just barking because of the back.
Oh. So I figure I've decided for myself, I've given up on this fear of death and dying. And you know what? I have to live every day like tomorrow won't happen. So for me, and not having that fear adds more value to my life. Because I know I'm not going to live forever. I have to make the best out of each and every waking moment that I can. If there's people out there who feel lost or lonely, they've got a friend right here that they can confide in. All the time, every time. I've had people call me at 3 in the morning. Jared, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. And that was my very sweet friend from Colorado, which I haven't heard from in a while. But she's got some other personal family issues, so I text her every once in a while. I love you. But that's the kind of guy I am. I've had people call me at 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. Jared, I'm scared. I don't know what to do.
Or just need someone to
And they just need somebody to talk to. And I'm there. I'm the guy. And yesterday I had done a Skype with my friends in New York State. It's the first Skype we had done in quite a while. And they're the only people I Skype with. So, hey, Twitter friends, do you have Skype? We'll have to arrange a time. If you feel comfortable, because I know a lot of you, huh?
Oh, I
anyway, I know a lot of you live in different countries, so the time zones are different. But we'll have to arrange a time when we can do a Skype. Maybe you and I can have a back and forth, face-to-face conversation. That'd be wonderful.
I don't even see what she's on.
See, they don't realize, they whisper, but you can still hear them. See, this microphone on this webcam is
you know what,
very
Jared?
sensitive. What?
Jared,
What?
I say this, a lot of people may think that you know about a lot of stuff, but you're just as much dumbfounded on things that they are, because you don't know what to,
Well,
tell them.
which is kind of why I said, we experience and observe this life together.
Yeah.
And if there's something that I don't, please educate me. If there's something I know that you don't, I would love to share with you, what I know.
You getting that, Amy?
We can learn from one another. And, but childhood cancer, I want to get back to that. Childhood cancer is,
Yeah, 'cause I already got 2 dogs here.
what?
Oh,
See, they talk to one another. I don't know if they're talking to me or if they're talking to one another.
just talk to me.
But with childhood cancer, it's I know a lot about it. And Dad, I think you're right about something. I've been giving this a lot of thought. I think a lot of my haters are just jealous.
That's all they are, son. They don't know. They don't know. See, they're jealous because you talk to people, and people like to understand. People understand where you're coming from, but there's some there that don't understand, and they try to help you for guidance. And the guidance is what they need on things. They need some guidance. Okay, like they want to talk to me because, yeah, you had cancer when you was young. Yeah, if they want to talk to me, I've had people call me and talk to me. What do we do? What do we look for? What happened? And all this, and I explain to them. And then they say, okay, thank you very much, and that's what's going on right now with the child, if he's losing his hair or whatever, I explain to them, say, that's what happens. If they get chemo and radiation or whatever, they are going to. Now, some kids do, some don't.
And when I say jealous, I want to put this out there too.
Yeah.
And I'm not referring to parents who are bereaved parents. They lost their children. That's insensitive. I'm not saying that. Anyway, I'm messing with you guys. I don't want to sound insensitive to a bereaved parent, a parent who's lost their child when I say they're jealous. It's the indirectly impacted people I'm referring to. It's those people I'm referring to. For some reason or another, they I've even had people say, well, Jared acts like he still has the cancer. No, I don't. I'm just opening up and explaining to people what it was I had gone through and the changes that chemotherapy brings forth. I mean, chemotherapy hosts a caveat of different long-term after effects and changes to the body, both inside and out. So, and I'm speaking from experience here. And so, that's what I talk about. It's the people who, they have not a first clue because they were indirectly impacted by childhood cancer. They have not a first clue. And when I speak truth to them about certain other people who are, they use their words as a bludgeon, to me, it's pointless because what they're talking about are things that they have no personal experience about or with whatsoever. And when I share my personal experience with other people who are directly impacted, for me, that's a plus. I'm not looking for notoriety or popularity. I'm not looking to get airtime on television. I'm not looking to get column inches in a newspaper. I just want to share my story, offer hope and inspiration. And as a matter of fact, my brother's, should I say ex-girlfriend? I don't know what the correct terminology would be, but it was my brother's ex-girlfriend's friend's baby. They're thinking she might have Wilms tumor. She's only 5 weeks old. 5 weeks old. They're thinking she might have Wilms, or as I said, it could be neuroblastoma, because nephroblastoma and neuroblastoma are very close in relevance. Although nephroblastoma is primarily kidney cancer, it's Wilms tumor, and neuroblastoma is clearly not that. So,
I got him.
you got him. It's the dog scratching at the door. You know, I don't know why dogs do it. I mean, I don't know why. Barkley.
In a way, I'm kind of glad he does, though, because then he
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's how we know, and he's not sitting there barking. Although his name is Barkley. But anyway, so yeah, that's just who I am as a person, as an individual. I just like to offer hope and maybe some inspiration, some education. That's who I am. And I know people get bored with the stories over and over and over again. But it's important that people know that I am one of those people who come out on the other side with battle scars and all, and I'm not going to turn my back on people whose children are fighting deadly diseases. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to turn my back on those people. Which reminds me, too, and I had just mentioned this, Dad, I want to find out some more information on Kara's friend's baby.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking she might have Wilms tumor.
Uh-huh.
But she's only 5 weeks old, so it may be early to tell at this point.
And we could try to help her.
And I'll try my best to help her in any way I can. I'm not an oncologist by any stretch, but I am a person who, like I said, I've been there.
Support.
And I will always show my support for the Warriors. So, case in point, which is why I have to go to Buddy's funeral.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard. It's difficult. But I have to be strong. Childhood cancer, if it taught me anything, it's how to be strong.
Love them guys to death.
And I love the Millers immensely. I love all my friends, even my Twitter following. I love all of you immensely. You're good people. And although we live in different parts of the world, because a good bulk of my Twitter following, they're from England, and they're from Wales, and other countries, Canada, my neighbors to the north, who just had recreational marijuana legalized. So, to my friends to the north in Canada, congratulations, I guess. And, we could pick up on that, but that's a whole nother avenue that I really don't want to walk down. But, anywho, the week has been okay for the most part, up until Friday, when we lost Buddy. But other than that, I mean, we're hanging in there. It's starting to get cold here.
Yeah.
The leaves are really turning color. I was going to do a video on the fall foliage here in Michigan, but I can't find my other cell phone that has a camera.
And it's too cold outside.
And yeah, it's really cold to be standing out aiming a camera.
Cold.
We've had snow flurries mixed in with rain. We had that yesterday on top of severe thunderstorms. So, I mean, thunder sleet. That's a real thing. And if you live in Michigan, you'll find out a lot of weird, phenomenal things going on.
Like our friends from Florida.
It's like, how do you get thunder and lightning with snow? We do.
Thunder snow.
Mm-hmm. And that thunder sleet that I had mentioned, they had that over in Grand Blanc, which is over by Flint.
Yeah.
They had severe weather go through there yesterday. and down in Pontiac and Detroit and Lapeer, Waterford, Oxford, Novi, Farmington, Wixom,
We had tornado warning.
Dearborn, not in Detroit yesterday.
No, but
Severe thunderstorms.
yeah,
Talking severe thunderstorms.
not power out.
And that was the same storm system that came through that put the Michigan State game on delay in East Lansing at Spartan Stadium. So it didn't get too bad in East Lansing, but by the time it moved eastward into the Detroit area, that's when it got bad. But I was coming home from New Lothrop yesterday, and I could see the storm clouds coming in. It got really dark, like an angry navy blue. And then the wind picked up, and it started raining, and the leaves were blowing everywhere. And it's like, yeah, this is an October Michigan. You know? But yeah, we have some very, very strange weather phenomenon here in the Great Lakes, in the Midwest. I mean, after all, we did go from 80 to 40 in a surefire hurry.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's coming down sick. The abrupt change in the weather. Yep, we get the best of both worlds here in the Midwest. We get warm weather in the winter, mild weather in the winter. We can sometimes get chilly weather in summer. It just depends. I mean, didn't you say one time we had snow all the way up until June?
Yep. I couldn't even, and I was driving the truck, we had it.
I mean,
I couldn't even deliver it because we had snow in the fields.
it's crazy. But, you know, it's that global warming.
Typical Michigan weather.
El Nino.
Wait 5 minutes, you'll change. Yep.
And they say, well, Michigan doesn't get hurricanes.
We get winds.
Correction. We did have a hurricane here.
Yeah.
Back in 1996, I think it was. It was Hurricane Huron. We lived in Merrill, I think, at that time. It was bad. There were tornado sightings. They called it Hurricane Huron, but then I heard it was also a derecho because there were tornado sightings like virtually everywhere. It was like 90 degrees at 5 o'clock in the morning. This was before the sun had even come up. And it was windy, thunder, lightning, hot and humid. It was very, very weird. Very weird. And I remember it very well. But anyway, enough talk about the weather. I haven't been here for very long, maybe a half an hour. Almost 50 minutes. Well, that's okay. I'll get this wrapped up and do the editing and put it on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. But anyway, Dad, was there anything you wanted to add? Or?
Nope. Since y'all have a nice, safe day.
And thanks for joining me this week.
Yeah.
The past few weeks, you've been absent.
I've been busy.
And yeah.
Friends needing help.
And today, this week, you're joining me for a Sunday video update, which is always a pleasure. I love having Dad and Amy here.
I'm always helping friends.
They always want me to do all the talking because I usually have an idea of what I want to talk about. But it's always nice to get differing views and opinions from all other people, which is always nice. But they sit off camera. I'm gonna have to.
They wouldn't want to look at my mug. I look like Yosemite Sam.
He does. If you spray painted his beard, because his beard comes down like this, and if you spray painted it orange, he would look just like Yosemite Sam.
Oh, sneak peek.
See, folks, if you spray paint this orange, you would look just like Yosemite Sam. Yeah, barman. You have that big old shotgun. It's going to go rabbit hunting.
Go rabbit hunting.
Go rabbit hunting.
Westry rabbit.
I say.
I thought I saw a pretty cat. Oh, that ain't it.
No, that's Tweety Bird. But anyway, guys, short and sweet this week. I'm usually here for an hour, but I really don't know what else to talk about. I'm sure there's much more to talk about, and I'm just not thinking about it like I do always every week.
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I'd like to say, let's everyone get together and try to find a cure for the brain cell,
the DIPG,
brain cancer thing. Let's try to help everybody and talk to each other about everything. And you know, if you ever want to talk, just call or text or whatever. We'll talk.
Because he's on Facebook, I'm not.
Yeah.
And people think that we're the same person, which is still.
I've seen my mug.
I mean, still, they think we're the same person,
Yeah,
and
but
it's
you
like.
don't have a white beard. I do.
And I always say, well, if we're the same person, one of two things has to be true: either we're both 32 or we're both 60.
Hey, I'd like to be 32.
There you go. But yeah, that was my dad. You probably, if this is your first time watching and you've never known what my dad looks like, that's him. It's Wayne Fuller. That's my dad. So I'm going to wrap it up right here, I guess, guys. I really don't know what else to talk about. There's really nothing else to talk about. The week was okay for the most part. But to all my friends on Twitter, I just wanted to say thank you again for being there for me and for having my back and for sticking up for me and just being wonderful and amazing and just thank you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're wonderful people. And to my YouTube subscribers as well, I love you all. You're amazing people, and thank you for being there. I'm grateful. I don't know how to emphasize that enough. I'm grateful, and I'm very appreciative that you are here for me. And I'm there for as many other people as I can be as well, and I try to be. I'm only one person, and I can only do so much at a time, but I will make it a point to respond. You can email me. Again, like I said, we can plan a Skype if you have Skype. And it's not just actor friends, it's families who are also affected by childhood cancer as well. I'm on the Eastern time zone. I'm in the Eastern time zone, rather. So we can schedule a time to Skype and have a talk. And of course, you have my permission to, like if we're doing a Skype, you can take a screen capture of, our conversation. That's up to you, though. I'm not saying you have to, but just so you know ahead of time, you have my permission. But it is, I think it's, oh yes, it's 10 after 3, which means I have to get supper started here shortly. I have to peel some potatoes, and because we're having potatoes and shake and bake chicken for supper tonight. I prepared spaghetti and garlic bread last night, which is, oh my God, it was so good. I think I'm a pretty good cook. I do okay for the most part. Peeling potatoes is not my strong point, but I did buy a bag of potatoes, so I'm going to peel those, let them boil in the pan on the stove, in a pan of water, and then I'm going to mash them because I love mashed potatoes. I'm going to put some shake and bake on some chicken and add some parsley to it, and I will probably make some, I'm going to say angel hair pasta to go with it. So mashed potatoes, shake and bake chicken, and angel hair pasta. That sounds good, doesn't it? Sounds really good. But much love to all of you, Miller family. I love you so much, and I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm devastated, and I'm heartbroken. But I'm here for you, always. Just a text away. You follow me on Twitter. I'm a tweet away. And I will see you all in Flint on Wednesday. So, much love to all of you. Have a wonderful week. And peace.